last time I saw you. My boys and girls behind the prison wall, so good that you tuning in today. Those of you who are watching me in the nursing homes or the rehab places, it's good. It's good to be with you again today. And I hope you've been watching our broadcast. Some of you saw some of the broadcasts when I was a little bit thinner, but now I'm voluptuous, and God has helped me. Put a little meat on my bones. Somebody's like, wait a minute, who is that? That was Reverend Thomas, you saw me. And my name and address is gonna come popping up. And I want you to subscribe to this channel. You can get every time we upload a video. My nephew is helping me. I believe he's helping me. I said my nephew is helping me.
Amen.
Amen.
With these videos. So I hope that you have been blessed. Why don't you call us? Our phone number is popping up and let us know you need somebody to pray with you. We want to pray with you.
Yes.
And come on out. You know, we don't have the Zoom anymore because the city is open. And as long as you wear your mask, you are definitely welcome. But if you've been vaccinated and you've been vaccinated your last shot, that 14 days, if you have your card and willing to share it with us so we'll know, then you don't have to wear a mask. But everybody is welcome here. And so tonight I thought we would have a wonderful lesson of can you see your future? Can you see your future? How many of us, I know most of us, have thought at some time in our lives, if I could have known then, come on, finish it up.
What I know now.
What I know now. Can you see your future? And we look at the youth, we look at the young people. Some of us will get mad at them because they're so strong. We wish they would do right. Right? We get so mad that these teenage girls, they got pretty bodies. Right? And we rubbing our leg with camphor. Come on, somebody, tell the truth and be free. See these young men, your head is bald, you just keep on spraying that black stuff, you know eventually you're going to be bald. But each and every one of us has sat down and thought about the choices that we have made in life. But I'm so thankful to the Lord today that He doesn't see once we give our hearts to Him. It does not matter. He can use you if you would just come in. He can do the impossible in your life. You could be in such a way, you know, sin robs you, it ages you. Especially people who do alcohol and they do drugs. It ages the organs that are in your body. But I have seen people come to Christ, and we could be out or passing out flyers, or my companion and I, and they are amazed at how well God is keeping us.
Yes.
Your future, can you see it now tonight? Can you see it tonight? Can you see it? Have you thought about next week? Have you thought about next year? Have you thought about the rapture? Have you thought about the tribulation period? Have you given thought to where your final destination will be? And I'm always moved when I see that hearse wheel going to the funeral home or to the cemetery. And I say it myself, over the many funerals I have done, it's their last ride. It's their last ride. And they got all the people who had an opportunity to travel with them to that last ride. And so I ask you tonight, as you journey with me to Genesis the 37th chapter, can you see your future? Can you see your tomorrows? Have you thought about your tomorrows? Next week, you young people, have you thought about the anticipation, the anxiety that may bother you when you think about, oh, when I get out on my own? But don't be in a hurry. Travel with me today to Genesis 37th chapter. Again, the name of our lesson is, can you see your future? Neighbor, you got your Bible. Come on, holler back. Can you got your Bible, your notebook, and your what? your pen. Right? Tonight we're going to be studying a little bit about the life of Joseph. To our family. Like, oh God, what kind of message? What the world? Right? They easily persuade us to do things that's not right. Amen. They have a hold, they got a grip on us. And even if we wanted to be free, we can't imagine how it can be. Let's start at verse number 1. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. Goes on to talk about the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. With his brethren, with the boys, his guys, brothers. And the lad was with the sons of Beverly and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. He simply saw what they were doing. It wasn't right. He just reported it back to his daddy. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age. He made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him. Now hate is what? It's one of the works of the flesh, recorded in Galatians 5th chapter, that you won't get to heaven with if you get it in your heart. Notice it didn't say they despised him or he irritated them. Hated. How many homes today, how many husband and wives, one of them hates the other? Siblings not speaking to each other from way back in the day about something they thought happened. They ain't sure about it. They're not sure about it. They can't prove it. But being disconnected for so long. We have more reunions at a funeral than we have at family reunions.
Yeah. Come on now.
I've done so many eulogies where the people come up and talk about, and they confess it out of their own mouths. This not ought to be so. That we come together under these circumstances.
Right.
Right? So it says here that his brothers hated him. So let me preface this by saying I'm not for favoritism. I know what that can do to a family. I've seen it happen in my own family. So let's move past that point. Let's look and focus our attention today on Joseph himself. The things that he must have went through. And we know he went through it. The Bible tells us very plainly that he did go through.
Amen.
So as you go on and read that, you'll see that Joseph dreamed a dream, and then he dreamed another dream. And his brothers mocked him. And your homework assignment, should you choose to take it upon yourself, took that from Mission Impossible. Your homework assignment, if you choose to take it upon yourself, track down what happened to the brothers. Not all of them participated in it, but all of them was in it.
That's it. Amen.
You can't say you at a party and ain't gonna dance. Don't play with me. I was just standing by the wall. They came to get me, I said, I'm cool. Don't tell me you're gonna be at a party and ain't gonna dance. But he dreamed a couple of dreams, came and told his father about it. And his brothers, they were just so furious. So as we travel along, you see that his dad sends him down there just to see what his brothers is doing, as we see here in verse 14. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, to see whether it be well with your brother. Just look in on him, see if everything's okay. And come back and tell me what's going on with him. So he sent him out, the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. The man asked him, what you looking for? What seek thou? And he said, I'm looking for my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they fed their flocks. And the man said, they departed from hence, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. So Joseph goes down there, and they see him away off. Now you either Joseph tonight, and they looking at you, or you're the brother looking at them. All of us in this story tonight. We either Joseph just coming down here, or you one of them brothers. You got a rock? No, get a gun. They ain't made guns yet. Get a rock. Some 5 stones. It ain't time for that? Okay, all right. No 5 stones. Because we only in Genesis. Don't break up the stones yet. You get the idea, though. I know when I was growing up, it would have seemed impossible that a brother would kill his brother, or a brother would kill his mom. But today we have been desensitized to violence. But it's all perpetrated by the spirit of the Antichrist, because, you know, when the Antichrist reveals himself, he is in the world now. We believe he was born in 1968, the later part of 1968. And if you go to Time Magazine, maybe you need to get it, you can download it. Time Magazine tells you about the year of 1968, how so many different things changed. And this is my opinion. Nobody told me this, but I got a brain in between these 2 ears. And I just feel like with the reality TV and so much sex and so much violence and so much sex and violence and games on TV, that the devil his purpose is to desensitize you to violence and sex. And you know, you could be out someplace and see people having sex in a car, and it's no shame. And you know, you could be in a crowd and a guy will shoot somebody, and the people won't even they won't even say a word. The devil is desensitizing the people so that when he comes on the scene and he does abnormal stuff, we'll take it as the norm. It's sort of like the practice of homosexuality that's not normal. And when you see it over and over again, when you hear that all the TV talks about is black people killing black people, you'll stop believing we're the only one killing, but we're not. But it's proper what? Gender. Can you see your future? Can you see your future? And most people don't have a common sense to stop watching the news. The news is a tool to instill fear. Once you find out the weather,
Amen.
and they feed it to you all day long. You're gonna see about somebody went out to rescue a dog. If you keep it on that same channel, you're gonna see it about 50 times before the day is over. They went out and got the dog. Oh, hold on, Johnny, they there? Are they there? We gonna go in live now. Watch them go dog out there. Right? These things we hear, these things we listen to, they affect us. Recently on the news, talking about can you see your future, it was a teenage Caucasian couple, brother and sister if I'm not mistaken, and they got guns at their daddy's gun place and started shooting. They thought they was playing cops and robbers with the police. 15, 16 years old. So don't tell me TV doesn't affect you. Don't tell me these magazines and these games on TV and the games with the cartridge, what you call them, a PlayStation or what, they got all kind of stuff now. Doesn't affect you. Don't tell me music does not affect you.
Amen.
But I just ask you with the state you're in and where you are in your life, can you see your future? Joseph, just that brother, just Jacob's son, being a kid. He goes down there and he sees what his brother's doing, and they sitting there with conniving and hatred in their heart as he approaches. And we know some of this was contributed to the fact of favoritism, but if you go and check the history of some of them brothers, they wasn't right anyway. And isn't that just like some of us? We're going to envy somebody else, and the envy really is not in them, but it's the hatred we have toward ourselves because we wasn't able to accomplish what we see happening to somebody else. Amen, Reverend Thomas. Amen. That was good. Right? Oh, she just thinks she's something. Why? Because she have no children and you have 3 at 19? Can you see your future? Nothing is what it seems. Joseph, listen, he going down there to check on his brothers, or so he thinks. But it's in their heart to kill him. So you know the story. They see him coming down. And one of them make the comment, I don't know if this is in a movie or if it's in the Bible. One of them say, he come this dreamer. He come this dreamer. Talking about the hatred that they have in their hearts for him, and here we are in verse 1. And Reuben, he heard it. They was talking about killing him, and he delivered meaning Joseph out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness. Lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. Now what did they do? They sold him into bondage. They sold him into slavery. But what they didn't anticipate was the level of grief of the father. If you go on, you'll see that he was sold to a company of Ishmaelites, which came from Gilead with their camels. You'll see that he was sold there. And they never knew what happened to him. They didn't even care what happened to him. Your life is like a circle. And before you leave this earth, you're going to complete that circle. Now, all of us, we got a lot of things going on in our families. Every single one of us. We got a lot of stuff going on. Come back. Okay, we got a lot of stuff going on in our families. Unfaithfulness, unthankfulness. Children who have not been disciplined, now you're going to wait till they get a teenager to try to tell them what to do. Well, good luck with that. Right? Jobs. I'm listening on the news. A lot of people don't want to return to work, but guess what? Pritzker said that unemployment is running out in September. They said the unemployment been made so good, the people don't want to work. You don't hear me. Right? Oh, one of the biggest companies, Amazon, said they having trouble keeping people because the turnover is so fast. Right?
Yeah.
But can you see your future? Can you see your future? So they sold him. We know that he went through a lot of trouble in his life. We know that he was taken to Egypt and he was sold to the captain of the guard. Later, he was falsely accused of attempting to rape Potiphar's wife, and he was thrown into prison. Can you see your future? Can you see your future? This all started in the house. The hatred, the dissension, the dislike, the favoritism. It started in the house. In his father's house. house growing up, Louise used to tell us all the time, what happened in my house stayed in my house. But now, in the day and the time we live in, you can't even discipline your children without them calling the police on you, without calling them children and family services. Well, I don't know what they would have, where they would have put my parents, the whippings I got. We might have came up in the system or something, because they would have been in jail. But they wouldn't have been able to keep Louise too long. But we all turned out all right.
Yes, sir.
The Bible talks about how serious the kid can be when they are without discipline, without instruction.
Yes.
And some parents are so deceived that they allow their kids to trick them so they can get their way. But have you thought about your future? He's a slave now. Have you thought about your future? We are 23 years old as a ministry. What have you done? What have you accomplished? What can you check off your list and say you've done for God? Been on the job for how long? Have you matriculated? Have you been promoted? Have you took any classes? Have you? What have you done? What have you been doing with your life? The young people, they are so mesmerized by youth and vitality, and they think everything is a game and it's fun, and it's, but some stuff you do, you gotta carry with you for the rest of your life if you don't consider your future. Come on, Reverend Thomas, girl. So there he is, he's in prison. But while he's there in prison, he accurately interprets the dreams of two of Pharaoh's servants. Notice this, I love this. On your road and on your destination, you're going to encounter other people that's in trouble. Yeah. So you got to decide, am I going to let their troubles become my problems, or am I just going to make myself aware of them that it's happening? Joseph initially just made himself aware that it was happening. But no matter whatever state he was in, he kept himself pure and holy, so whatever state he was in, God was able to use him. Can we say that if we invited somebody from our job here, would they be shocked? Church, you go to church? You a Levite? Or did you say you leaving? What did you say you was? You said you were the usher. Or was you talking about usher? Who did you say? Who did you say you was?
Amen. Come on.
Talking about you open up the door, you running out the door. That's why some of y'all, you can't invite people, because you're two-faced. What's that thing of February down at the Mardi Gras? You got two faces. My work wife, your work wife. You should be the same way all the time. Have you considered your future? Just tonight, since you've been in here, neighbor, have you considered your future? Wherever you might be incarcerated, but that's not the end of you, is it? You might be in the nursing home, that's not the end of you, is it? You might be in a rehab institute, that's not the end, is it? Have you thought about your future? A lot of times our kids got to go to jail, and our uncles and stuff got to go to jail. Our brothers, sons, got to go to jail to wake up. They're just running. It's just like every time you look up, you buying a new car. And every time you go to the car dealership, I ain't gonna get the off and play back out for this wise. Every time you just keep on, you want a new car. You want trying to keep up with the Joneses, You want this kind of car, you want that kind of car. And every time you get a new car, you gotta put down a greater down payment. And finally you hit the wall where they say, you what? You up what? Sat down. They act like they don't know, but they act like they don't know about when you're upside down and trying to get a car. I know. That means the car you have is of less value than the money you owe. You owe more than what the car is worth. See, they're trying to go, wow, I just heard that. Wow. Don't ever fool you. So is your future like that? Do you just keep running and doing stuff, and sometimes you find yourself in prison, neighbor, because you upside down? So now you're there, you can think. Maybe you thought about your education for the first time since when? Have you thought about after this moment, after you're done with high school? Have you thought about when you out of grammar school? Have you thought about it? Have you thought about your career path? Have you thought about it? Or right now I'm just having a ball? Remember, we started our lesson out by saying that if I knew now what I what? I heard about 3 voices. Can you say it for me out there? Thank you. I will make some changes, but in God you can still make changes. So he interprets the dreams. One of the servants Joseph had previously helped suggested to the Pharaoh that Joseph could interpret the dream. Pharaoh had a dream. Look how the Lord was able to use him. Because when Joseph was in jail, what had to happen to him? He had to be broken of that anger. He had to deal with the hate and animosity. He had to deal with all those feelings that came upon him as a result of what was done to him. Come on, somebody. You just can't say, oh, don't think about it. Oh, don't worry about it. No, you got to talk about it. You got to talk about, that's what counseling is for. When we can't help you here, we tell you to go to professional counseling. What do they do most of the time, depending on the state you're in? Let you talk. And let you talk. And they tell you to journal. Then if they feel like that ain't helping you, they put some little medicine with it. To get out of you those things that has happened to you. They ain't doing away with it, but they trying to get you to do what? Acceptance. They trying to get you to look at it. They trying to get you to talk about it. They trying to get you to deal with it so that you can go on in the what? Future. How many know people that all they talk about is yesterday? All they talk about is the past. Here I am, almost 60. Wonderful as I look. How ridiculous would that be for me to keep on talking about when I was 16? Somebody on the bus would want to shout at me, hey, you're a grown woman. I remember when I was 6, but you're not. What was important in Joseph's life? Deal with where I'm at now. The Bible, if you go on and read, it talks about how he thought about his family. He wondered about his dad. He wondered. But God was still making provision for him. God was still looking out for him. It didn't look like his future would be prosperous down in that dungeon. But in that dungeon, he learned true repentance. He learned how to really forgive. Forgiving stuff that people do to you, especially in your family, it can be real hard. And every time the devil bumped him a little bit, he come past and stick your picture on your forehead. He run past and say, you it, gotcha, you it. You go look in the mirror, there's a picture of your brother that don't like you. Tag, you it. So we travel through life with not having a relationship with our brothers and our sisters. Not having a relationship with our mom. Listen, my mother and father, it was 5 of us. I did not know how spectacular my parents were until I had to have kids. They fed us every day. They clothed us every day. All of us had shoes on our feet. We had boots in the winter time. We had summer clothes. And when I had my 5 kids, I thought it was amazing as I look back on it in perspective, how they were able to provide to feed all of us at the same time. Me and my companion, we live in a house now that I grew up in. our lights were never turned off. It wasn't one time we didn't have heat. But yet in my lifetime, I have wondered sometimes if the lights gonna go out up in here. I believe parents, for the most part, they do the very best job they can do for you, baby, please. Your future. Are you ready for it? The lies ahead, are you ready for it? Are you strong enough? Are you determined enough? Have you prepared yourself? Have you looked into the future? I'm not talking about at the back of the paper and astrology. That's of the devil.
Yes, it is.
Astrology is of the devil.
Yes,
As you go on here and read, it says that Pharaoh called his soothsayers and his magicians, but they couldn't touch God's workmanship. God gave Pharaoh the dream to answer the prayer from Joseph. How many people have you used to answer your prayers? How many people have he used to bring you to this point in your life? To encourage you, to inspire you, to whoop you. Shouldn't have been with that person. You want them so bad. Oh God. Then you get that man or that woman. It's like, I asked God for my angel. He sent me a devil. You know it's right. Your flesh wanted it. That wasn't God's will for you. The Bible said, a man that what? I'm trying to help you. A man that what? He what? What's the important word in that sentence? Bring it back. Now, if you laying out in the street when you pass by, one thing you don't want to do in life, you don't want to marry the wrong person. You don't want to marry somebody and you be unequally yoked. You used to paying your tithes, giving an offering. You barely can give $5 for the whole week. That liberty you had when you were single, you don't even have it anymore. And I try to talk to people down through the years, but let me tell you about lust and sex and feelings and pretend love. You know, when we was growing up, we used to pretend how our house was going to be. We get that J.C. Penney catalog, then we print it. We flip the pages over, we just laying down, flapping our feet, ain't got to worry in the world. I head up there, we just turn the pages. No, I think I want me a white kitchen. No, turn back. But when reality said, we was like, throw that book in the garbage. We ain't bad nothing up in here today. Don't bring another sales paper up in here. Get out there and clean that yard. They do all those sales paper up in there, in that yard, rubbing up with a rubber band. It's a devil! Ain't nothing 3 for 5 no more. The future, have you thought about it? He in a tight spot right now. He interprets the dream for the 2 guys that was also in prison with them. They forget about him. And then Pharaoh starts having dreams. Your future. It was a man named Moses. His life started out because a proclamation had went out to kill all the male babies. Said if it's a girl, keep her. He told the handmaidens or the midwives, now if it's a girl, let her live, but if it's a boy, kill him. But the Bible said they did in reverse. They said they started having more kids. So it happened upon a day. Moses' mom tried to keep him as long as she could, but at a certain time she had to let him go. She wraps him up and put him in a basket that she made. She puts him on the water. And he starts crying and he goes down to Pharaoh's house, to a woman who was barren and just wanted to love a child. So many times we complain about what we got, and there's somebody you know who wish they could swap problems with you. You talking about how your husband all over you. They just praying they would if he would. You talking about my kids, they just want to go everywhere. They just want, oh, they want. But baby, they don't get a certain age, they ain't gonna want to do nothing with you. They ain't gonna even want to see you. They gonna lie to you, steal from you. Some of these kids are habitual liars. You would think they went to the university for it.
Come on now.
Their face don't change. They don't, you know. I tried lying in front of Louise. I stopped twitching because she gonna slap me any moment.
That's right.
But our kids disrespect God because they're not afraid of us. I learned how to respect God from my mama. I thought if God was anything like my mother, I just don't want to meet him at night. So he goes on. So many years then passed. How patient are you? How patient are you? So many years have passed. How patient are you? So this didn't just happen. Let's go back. That he went in the field with wearing that coat of many colors. The brothers threw him down in a hole. He got sold. Went into slavery. Wife lust all in her eye. Joe was like, she looked like a foolish woman. Now on the movie it said Potiphar's wife slept between 16 and 18 hours a day. When did she have time to be lusting? But she found something though, didn't she? So it gets away from her. So this is just a picture of your life, whatever state you may be in. But it ain't over. Until God says it. It ain't over. The Bible doesn't tell us everything. You don't think he cried? Even when he was in Potiphar's house, he had on better slave clothes, but yet they were still clothes of the slaves. He was a team lead down in a dungeon, but he was still in a dungeon. And sometimes we got to go in a dungeon so we can be made. Because while we up and everything's going good and we just, ooh. But when you get knocked down, and you got to remember who is who and what is what, that you ain't as great as you think you are, then you start coming to yourself. I was thinking about a message, and I was thinking about, and I shared this with you guys many times when we first moved here where we live at now. We had to eat the same thing every day for a long time. But we didn't starve. We had green torn carpet on our floor. It was easy for us to eat spaghetti boyardee for a week straight. It was nothing for us to have cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Am I telling you, Bridget? It was nothing for us to have syrup sandwiches. But because it was so much uncertainty about tomorrow. I mean, my father wouldn't throw food away like we throw food away today. We go to the refrigerator, just clean everything out. But my parents wasn't. They couldn't afford that.
Yes.
Something seemed like it was going bad, they'd cut the bad part off and throw the rest of it in the pot. But it just kind of seems like to me that we had a lot more then when we didn't have nothing than we got now with all this stuff. We got a TV in every room. We got a phone. We got, what's that thing? We got an intercom. Somebody tried to tap into it one time. Told, what's it called? We up in the house and we ain't on the intercom, but the intercom is talking. What's that called? It's like unplug that trumpet from everywhere in this house. But when we couldn't even talk on the phone, we couldn't go in the front room when Mama had company.
That's it.
The kitchen was closed at a certain time. It seemed like we had more when we had those restrictions than we got right now. And
Yes.
so guys, sometimes God got to bring us back down to the bare necessities. We can get 2 TVs now. We only could watch TV on the weekend. We had to do our homework. And those restrictions and that discipline curved us to be in a position that we can hear the voice of God now. We've given our kids too much and they ain't giving us nothing back. God has given us a lot and we ain't giving him nothing back. We complain about the 10%. But I knew when we was growing up, I asked my mama, can I have a quarter? I don't want to go to church and I don't have any money to put in. Can I have 50 cents? I want to be able to do something. And now you're able-bodied. God will give you the strength to get the wealth you have, and you complain about money you owe. You don't give tithes, you pay them because you owe them. But maybe he got to take you down to the dungeon so you can remember who he is. And I always said this, I always said that it just seemed like we had so much more then. We've gotten wrong, some of us, we got 2 cars, we got a house, we got a bungalow, we got a, what's that guy was an apartment but you pay for? Condominium. We got degrees. We can trade our cars in. But sometimes we don't even talk to each other for a long period of time. But we was in that house together, and we had to be in by 6, all we could do was talk to each other. I used to walk all the way to the church here on 78th and Stony. I ain't had no bus pass. Talking about put something on the bus, get the phone, hit the thing. No, you walked. So here is Joseph. He down in the dungeon. We wrapping up. You with me, neighbor? Down in a dungeon. He had to get all that stuff out of his heart. Yes, it was wrong how the brothers treated him, but his response had to be right. He had to be purged of their hate. He had to be purged of that bitterness that had happened to him over the years. Somebody keep on kicking you. Come on, somebody. Somebody keep on treating you bad. One day they gonna wake up. You got a wife, you better treat her right. Because my nephew will tell you, she'll be gone before you know it. We were in the house one day. D-Man ran down to me. I was working from home and he said, T.T. Kelly is not breathing. I ran up the stairs, I turned her over, and I knew she had been dead for a while. You got parents, you had better treat them right. You got a good husband, you better let him know. You got a good job, you better give God what's his. Where did Joseph get it all straight when he was a slave? If he had not been a slave, how would he have known how to treat the people when he came next to Pharaoh? And nothing didn't divide him but the Pharaoh's ring. How do you That remind you, I ain't gonna do that no more. Those of you incarcerated, you feel me. You know what I'm talking about. Those of you in poor health by your own doing, you know what I'm talking about. Those of you in certain situations in your life by your own doing, you know what. You might not tell nobody around you, but you know what I'm saying is true. I told you don't marry that man. And now you'll tell anybody, whatever she say, do it. She ain't Jesus' mama, but listen. Ain't that what Mary told the people? Some of y'all just went right over y'all head. Y'all. She said, whatever he say, what? Come on, say it again. Whatever he say, do it. Whatever he say, do it. What about the Nike world? Michael Jordan said, just what? Do it. See, now, see. Did you see how the people responded when I said that? Whatever he say, just do it. And Joseph had to be broken into many pieces to be made ready. And as the story goes on, we close, and he goes. His father now says, you guys got to go down to Egypt and buy some corn because there's a drought. So the brothers come traveling down there. Been so long, they ain't even expecting to see their brother. Ain't that something how we can do people? He ain't gonna be nothing. His daddy ain't nothing. And here you come in for a job and nothing is talking to you.
Yes.
You might not remember them, but they remember you.
Yes.
And there you are, your full circle. Right? So his brothers come, and he kind of playing around with him, trying to see, have they changed? And he starts asking about his brother, Benjamin. Plays a little game with him. The one who did the most talking, he kept him captive, but he said he wasn't really captive because in the movie he said, I was living like a king myself. Simeon, I believe it was. He wasn't really trying to hurt him, but he was trying to see, are you still treating people the same way? Have you let the love of God kind of work through you to get rid of those things that was in your heart? Because some things people do to us, we can't fix it. We got to let the God help us. Amen. You can't just forget about it. You need help. You need help. So finally, they come back again. He makes them sit in the chair by their ages. He didn't, all this stuff didn't pass. They didn't went back, talk to the daddy. He said that Benjamin ain't going. They said he gotta go. He said, no, he ain't going. You know what you do with Joseph? Y'all lied to me down there. You ain't gonna get my son down there. I'm gonna die for sure. All this had to go on, and they going back and forth. They like, but they got one of our brothers up there, and the father talking about, you fool, why did you tell me you had a brother down? I wasn't down. They going back and forth. So now here we are at that table. And Joseph confesses to them, I'm your brother Joseph.
Yes.
How would you like that to happen to you? I'm your long lost sister. We were separated at birth through hate. I'm your long lost sister. I know mama favored you, and it caused me to have bitterness and hatred in my heart, but I'm your sister. I'm your brother. A wayward child finally comes to God after years and years of addiction and years of just being lost. They wake up and come to themselves. So now they look upon his face, who they had cast aside. They look upon his face, who they had sold for slavery. They look upon his face because they have been paying for that same mistake throughout their whole life. And there she's standing right in front of their face. And they can't deny it. You know how we run from lies? You know, I heard something about you, and I ain't doing nothing like that. Somebody try to confront you, your companion, about something you doing. All you want to talk about, you want to bring up their spiritual report card. Now you up there, you got a collar on you. Finna do prophesy. But somewhere in the midnight hour, God checks you. And he checks you about your life and who do you think you are. And you might not admit it, but you know it is God. He all in your face. Last man, I've been called. And my brothers, all they can do is weep. But because Joseph was made in a dungeon, he now is that beautiful vessel that has been tried and broken. Now he's the vessel that can really show up to his brothers. And he said, I know what you did to me. I know what you did to me. And it was bad. You wanted me to die. You intended to, you sold me into slavery. But God made me next to the king through that. And he said, I forgive you. Don't worry about it no more. He said, how is my daddy? And he went over there to Pharaoh and said, can I go get my family? And Pharaoh said, go ahead and get them. And he brought them in, and they were rescued from the drought. His future. But it was up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And who started it? His family. That should have stood by his side, that should have loved him, that should have cared for him. They did. But he was made through that process. Have you thought about your future? Have you thought about your future? Your life is important. Maybe your life is important. You count. You matter. You count to God.
Yes.
But if you want to walk and live for Christ, it's not going to be an easy road. Think about all those travelers. Think about all those travelers, the wise men that came to see Jesus. You know, they heard about Jesus. Jesus was born, but by the time they got there, Jesus was a toddler. They didn't come see no baby in a manger. The wise men, they had to travel and follow the star for what, 2 years?
Yes.
You've been jacked up for how many years? And now you want the Lord to do it in 40 days?
Yes.
Maybe you got to be broken. Maybe you got to repent and be sorry for what you've done. Not only to God, but to others. Some of us, we didn't really mess people up. You deceived your parents, your father, your mother. You betrayed the trust of people. And now you demand them to treat you like you royalty. No. Have you thought about your future? But it's never too late. Neighbor, it's never too late.
That's what I want.
Joseph, he went through so much, but he let the love of God make him. All of that hurt, he didn't deny it. The Bible doesn't say it didn't exist, but he let God help him work through it. Some things that happen to us, we need help. We need help. We need help. We need help. We need God's help. But you gotta face life. Neighbor, I hope you had a good time with me today. Have you considered your future? I love you. I pray over you all the time. My boys and girls around the world. I pray for you all the time. Yes. And now you know COVID is over. You can come out here and join me. I always tell me I love the Reverend. I love the Reverend. I love the Reverend. I'll never see you. I love the Reverend. I love the Reverend. That's what y'all used to say on Zoom. I go around, oh, I love the Reverend. I love the Reverend. Now we ain't Zoom. Zoom is Zoom. Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. Come out. Right? The city is open. And I'm going to be praying for you, your future, your future, your future. And remember, no matter what you're going through, I love you and I care. Come on out and see me. I'll see you next time. God bless you.